Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon. Happy 4th of July. Welcome to all patriots for being here today. It is my privilege and pleasure to be able to share a few minutes on this most unique holiday in American history. Good to be here with you today. Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated, on the 4th of July, year of our Lord, 2023. So in the last few years, Independence Day has a different level of meaning as you understand what is going on in our world today. So for me, it's a day of sovereignty, to be that sovereign citizen, the child of God, living in very unique times, to say the least. And with the trauma-based mind control that is prevalent around us, it's very important that you practice your sovereignty, being that sovereign citizen of God, being able to be in your sobriety, your recovery, your consciousness, being able to let go of being critical of yourself or the feelings of being criticized, and being able to find your higher self, or being able to find your power, instead of living in the lower self of anxiety, fear, and doubt, worrying about the future that hasn't happened. I mean, these are challenging times, and this is where it's important that you do connect with your God, your higher power, that you find people who believe what you believe, so that you're able to share your inner insights and share your wisdoms. Many of my clients will say to me, I don't really have anyone who I can talk to except for you, who really understands what I understand about what's going on in the world. And I say the same thing. There's millions of us. There are millions of us who know what's going on in the world, and we're not afraid to speak our truth. And that's why it's so important that in today, you let go of being critical about yourself and let go of being critical about your others, and practice that sobriety today. Go the day without being critical of yourself. Find love in your heart for other people and the universe and plants. And one of my clients was just telling me today about one of the most grounded ways to be grounded is to walk barefoot on the grass, and to practice that. Drink the cleanest water you can possibly drink. Let go of the anxiety about the outcomes that you hold on to. Be your best self today. Be the sovereign citizen of God, the child of God that you know that you're capable of being, and give it up. Let go, surrender whatever you're holding on to, especially today, so you can celebrate your independence. Our country's independence, I am in question of what that really means anymore. But what I know it means to me is that every day is a day of independence for me, so that I am not holding on to trauma bonds and panic patterns. I am not being ruled by a government who's not looking out for my best interest. I'm looking out for the best interests of myself and others, and people who are in alignment with who we are and what we are as a collective consciousness. Those of us who are prepared to be able to stand up to the tyranny, to be able to stand tall and be able to be a role model, and to be a person of influence and affluence for people who are not there right now. And there are people who are looking for your message. They're looking for what you have to offer. So if you're critical of yourself, it's a byproduct of being criticized as a child. If you are holding on to the feelings of not being good enough, it's practically universal. It affects so many people in the world. If you're the law of the few, if you're able to separate your feelings, if you're able to breathe, release, and let go, if you're able to be sober today, and sober, it's sobering sometimes to be sober, especially when you look back over your shoulder at all the mistakes, challenges you've been through. But here you are today on this day of independence, a day to be sovereign from your anxiety, fear, and doubt, a day to be sovereign from the trauma-based mind control that's so prevalent, to be able to unplug from the movies and understand that history isn't what you thought it is, and to understand that you're writing a new chapter in your world right now, and that if you're in this level of consciousness that you're capable of being, you will stop procrastinating, you will stop avoiding, and you will begin to release the weight you hold on to. You release the debt you hold on to because you realize at this point in your life on this journey that the pleasure isn't worth the pain. You will not relapse on bad food or alcohol or medication or other situations because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. Many people have asked me, how did you get sober? Well, I didn't get sober. I hit rock bottom, and I'd hit so many rock bottoms that it was down to that last choice. It was either sobriety or death, and that's not the way you want to go about it. The back against the wall method is not the way to be sober, although there are many of us that have ended up that way. And it's sobering to think that I had to go through all of that to be here today. But most important situation for me, the pleasure wasn't worth the pain. So the message today in your independence and your sovereignty is give it up. Give up the struggle. Give up being a noble struggler. Give up the silent suffering. Give up living that little apartment that you live in. Give up living this life that's so squeezed down because there's so much more for you. There's so much available to you, even in the most challenging times in world history. I mean, to me, 4th of July doesn't have the same meaning anymore because I understand a different level of history. For the last 40 years, I've been down this rabbit hole, and this rabbit hole is taking me through many places, through the hundreds of books, through the YouTube videos, through the seminars I've attended, through the people that I follow daily, the people who I believe are true patriots, people who really understand what is behind that flag and what is the real meaning of independence and what it means to be a sovereign citizen. I was first introduced to the term sovereignty in 1996 through a course I purchased. I purchased a book called The Complete Patriot by Philip Marsh. It's called The Complete Patriot. I read multiple books on this topic. I have read, you're right, James Marr's books, The Rise of the Fourth Reich. I've read Behold the Pale Horse by James Marrs. I mean, I've read Behold the Pale Horse was an exceptional book. I've read multiple books. The Healing Codes of the Biological Apocalypse, Bloodlines of those people. I mean, I have studied these courses for multiple years. You're correct. William Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse. So for those of you who have ever read any of this content, it's a different level of content that can take you to higher consciousness, but you have to be prepared to understand that the truth doesn't set you free. The truth can actually upset you. The truth of what we've been conditioned to believe is facts is filled with fiction. And as you begin to understand what Hollywood means, as you're able to see behind that veil and see clearly what you're up against and what we are up against as a culture, as a consciousness, the liberation comes from understanding that you are your own sovereign citizen and that you are not the mark of the beast. You are only controlled by your control and the control that they have on you. And as you seek your independence, that independence is found outside the matrix. And it's not the red pill or the blue pill. It's nothing you swallow. What you access is the truth. And that truth you seek it's going to require your open-mindedness to go out there and really find what is behind that veil. And what is behind the veil is your freedom. Because as you start to become less dependent on other situations and government entities, and you're less dependent on programs and traditional medicine and the banking industry, as you start to become your own commerce, as you start to create your own sovereignty, as you start to create your own way to create money, as you create your own way to create value and service in the most challenging times in world history, you will not be dependent upon them. And as you grasp this context and then put it into content and then put it into reality, then you are no longer the mind-body connection to anxiety, fear, and doubt. And they want you to fear them. When you don't fear them, there is no loss of power. You are power, you are sovereign. And in that sovereignty that you seek, what sovereignty is, it's the separation from the trauma, the panic patterns, the fight or flight you lived in, the scarcity, the debt that you've been seduced to live in, the trading time for money that doesn't exist so you can pay interest on it. The taxes that are consistently put upon you as a business owner. And the more that you understand how to step out of this matrix and operate over a level of freedom and be less critical of yourself or others and understand the game you're playing, you will start to find your power. And it's in that power that you will attract your reality other like-minded success seekers who believe what you believe. But if you believe only a few people believe this and that everyone thinks you're crazy, that's part of your own self-criticism. You're not crazy, you have some brain fog. And you may be overwhelmed, but you can definitely let go of that. There are millions of people waiting to find you, looking for your message when you're able to be in your own truth. When you let go of being critical, when you keep holding yourself back, when you keep talking self-talk that's anxiety, fear, and doubt ridden, when you keep worrying about the future that hasn't happened, when you hold on to those little credit cards, and when you hold on to that FICA money that isn't real, and when you hold on to all these stories that you've been told, then you will start to separate yourself from it when you let go. It's the separation from the tyranny. It's the separation from the anxiety, fear, and doubt. It's the separation from the family members who think you are crazy. It's the separation from the people who tell you, do not dream, those things don't happen. It's the separation from the people who want you to bring you back into their crab bucket. When you separate yourself from that, you will start to find what true patriotism is. You will start to be independent, not codependent. You will start to be in a level of emotional sobriety that you've never experienced. You can't really explain sobriety to someone who hasn't lived it, because sobriety is a completely different level of consciousness. When you let go of the trans fats, the GMOs, the genetically modified food, when you let go of the sugar and yeast that's used to make alcohol, when you let go of living on credit, when you let go of this, your being begins to change. When you surrender to God, when you surrender to your higher power, when you surrender to your anxiety that you've held on to, and realize that it's only a feeling. So your emotions are feelings, and that's all they are. They're feelings based on past events that only have power if you continue to give it to them. But when you let go of not being good enough, when you let go of being incapable, when you let go of past failures in relationships, in business ventures, in careers and jobs, then there's no neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings that collapse, that create the emotions of anxiety, fear, and doubt. And when you let go of that, then there is nothing for you to worry about. And because worry is a complete waste of energy, has no value, and brings no energy to you other than anxiety, fear, and doubt. And in that energy, you are virtually helpless, procrastinating and avoiding. Letting go is the separation of the feelings and the events that shape them. I've said this thousands of times in front of audiences in 4 different continents, 47 different states. I've been teaching letting go skills for 25 years, plus 10 years of my own sobriety. There's another almost 35 years that I've been out living it and teaching it, letting go. The most important skill that you can master, and within the context of letting go, the most important aspect of letting go is letting go of the lie that you're not good enough. And when you accept that you are good enough and that you are capable and you can create on command, whether you're 22 or 62, there is still plenty of time left available for you. And when you let go of how overwhelmed you are and you start to become more organized, more emotionally disciplined, when you have follow-through skills, you will start to see the significant changes in your life begin to show up. It is my absolute privilege to be here with you on this beautiful 4th of July. Stockton, California, I believe it's around 105 degrees today. And as we say in the San Joaquin Valley where I live, it's dry heat. We don't sweat like that. It is a beautiful 4th of July day, a day to absolutely celebrate your sovereignty and your own emotional independence, as you are no longer dependent upon others and you are letting go of being critical of yourself. It's my absolute privilege and pleasure to be here with you on this significant day in history. If you are on today's Facebook Live and you're a former client or a new follower and you'd like to find out more about my coaching for 2023, feel free to reach out to it. I do have a 4th of July coaching value, and I can offer it to you on a phone call if you'd like to find out more about what that is. Have an outstanding afternoon. I'll be back here tonight at midnight Eastern Standard Time on 2/4 Tuesday. Let go of being critical and separate your feelings from the events that shape them. Dawn, awesome to see you this afternoon. Tyrone, Kim Lovelace, David Jones, Ray, Jose, Dawn multiple times. Sabrina, good to see you this afternoon. Annette, thank you for being here today. Henry, Michelle, Lisa, good to see all of you here this afternoon. Barbara Williams, Cheryl Lynn, always great to see you. Twana and Scott Lucas, thank you very much, everyone. Have an outstanding 4th of July.